It's May 22nd, and this is The View with Catherine Chang. Today's topics are saying goodbye to Hong Kong's one country, two system, and China's fear for Minister Clark. First, I want to talk about saying goodbye to Hong Kong's one country, two systems. It is really a great shock to all the Hong Kongers and the world. China's National People's Congress started this morning, and it proposed a controversial Hong Kong security law, and which is scheduled to pass next Thursday. With this law, China allows itself to bypass Hong Kong's own legal structure because according to one country, two system, Hong Kong has its own authority to establish their own law. Oh my God, this is like ending Hong Kong's 22 years of one country, two systems and change it to one country, one system. And the one system will be the Chinese Communist Party system. So it is right, for President Tsai to reject the one country, two systems during her inauguration speech. Remember, when Hong Kong was returned to China in 1997, back then, China's top leader, Deng Xiaoping, guaranteed Hong Kong's autonomy of life, economic, and jurisdiction for at least 50 years. And he said, the honor, this kind of thing that he will promise. The horse can still run, and the dance can go on. Yet it's only 22 years, and everything changed. U.S. President Donald Trump said that U.S. will respond strongly. I think it is not clever for Beijing to conduct such action because, first, China will lose Hong Kong. Infuriated Hong Kongers will protest even stronger. Second, China will lose Taiwanese. Taiwanese will distrust China even more, and this will also influence the results of Kaohsiung Mayor Han Kuo-yu's recall vote. Why do I say that? Because Han Kuo-yu stepped into liaison office of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong in 2019. Since then, he was kind of labeled as someone who agreed with the one country, two system, even though he denied it. And this is one of the reasons why he lost the presidential election. What's interesting is Li Keqiang, China's premier of the State Council, did not mention 92 consensus during the conference. President Tsai did not support 92 consensus, and China didn't mention it too. So will there be a kind of new solution for Taiwan and China in the future? Second, I said about China's fear for Minister Clark. Well, what I meant by saying Minister Clark is that CCC head Chen Shizhong, in the Chinese, it said that Chen Shizhong is like what we say, Ah Zhong is like a clock, so it's kind of a nickname. We know that China accused Chen Shizhong for hiding the pandemic, and that is ridiculous. We know that it is China that covering the pandemic. Here are the top stories. Today, we have 0 confirmed cases. And China's National People's Congress, started today. And one big bomb that China dropped right away is its legislature proposed to introduce a new security law in Hong Kong. And that could ban sedition, secession, and subversion. And also, the New York Times kind of question, is this the end of Hong Kong? And why did it propose it now? I want to say that China began taking steps that enrolls the kind of liberties enjoyed by Hong Kong's like 7.5 million people. And actually, China proposed controversial Hong Kong security law. And what is the content? First, what is precisely in the whole thing kind of announced is said that the National People's Congress, China's legislature, would establish new laws for protecting national security in Hong Kong. And the new legislations would allow China's central government more legal justification kind of to directly respond to the large anti-Beijing protests that, kind of abandoned Hong Kong for much of the past years. And second, why did China do this now? President Xi Jinping has viewed this Hong Kong unrest with impatience and exploitation, and also seeing it as a direct challenge to the Communist Party's primacy and legitimacy. And also, we're talking about that the legislation that Beijing has proposed would allow it to bypass Hong Kong's own legal structure for dealing with what are regarded as security threats and the whole thing. So what are the possible consequences for China? the move could kind of aggravate China's worsening relations with the United States. And talking about United States, you know that U.S. President Donald Trump said the U.S. would strongly respond to any attempt by the Chinese authorities to impose a crackdown on Hong Kong. And also, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that China's threat to pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong could make the United States reevaluate its special treatment and the territory received as an autonomous region under American law. And also, State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortega said, "We urge Beijing to honor its comments." And also, this kind of commitment they made and the obligations in the Sino-British Joint Declaration. And this kind of is a bilateral treaty signed in 1984, guarantees a high degree of autonomy for Hong Kong until at least 2047. And also, except for this, I want to talk about the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. She treated Beijing's announcement of yet another attempt to bring an end to the one country, two system. This kind of framework in Hong Kong is deeply alarming. And also, he said, this kind of attempting to circumvent the Hong Kong legislator shows a complete disrespect of the rule of the law. And also, the other thing, I think this is a big thing, that the White House, they issue a 20-page broad-scale attack on Beijing's kind of the whole thing about its kind of economic policies, military buildup, and the disinformation campaigns, and also human rights violations. And what is in it? I think it's the idea of how the United States want to change the relationship between United States and China. And the inside, the content is more than 40 years later. Well, I think the 40 years refer to the United States and PRC established diplomatic relations in 1979. It has become kind of evident that this approach underestimated that this they kind of underestimate the whole thing, that this the will of the Chinese Communist Party CCP to constrain the scope of economic and political reform in China. Over the past 2 decades, reforms have slowed, stalled, or reversed. So the PRC's rapid economic development and increased engagement with the world did not lead to convergence with the citizen-centric or free and open orders as the United States have hoped. And also we say that in this, the whole kind of a strategic project, there's a major context about Taiwan. And the report also mentioned Taiwan under the section kind of preserve peace through strength. And this is very important because they want to have the arms sale to Taiwan. It wrote, the United States will continue to maintain strong unification relations with what? And with Taiwan. And actually, Taiwan is not an official relations, but they still want to do it. And in accordance with our One China policy. They didn't say One China principle, but One China policy based on the Taiwan Relations Act and the 3 U.S. PRC joint communicate. And the U.S. maintained that, actually any resolutions of cross-strait differences must be peaceful and according to the will of the people on both sides, without resorting to threat or coercions. So let's talk about the whole thing. And this is a very important weekend for Hong Kong, U.S., China, and Taiwan. Now, I want to take a look at the disastrous rain in Taiwan. As you can see, here, these are the pictures from Kaohsiung. You can see the Kaohsiung, the car is over here, and this is all flooded with water. And here, well, this is the top of the car, the car. So you can see that it's pretty serious. And I hope everyone stays safe. And I wish you all a happy weekend, even though we have such a big thing here. And I want to say, God bless Hong Kong. I wish you all a very nice weekend. And we will tune in next Monday. I'll see you Monday. That will be the view for today. Bye.